The Freedom Park celebrated the life and times of Dulcie September. September was an ANC member, anti-apartheid activist, and political prisoner who went into exile in London in the early 70s and later moved to Paris. September was assassinated outside the ANC's Paris office in 1988. She was shot 5 times from behind as she was opening the ANC office after collecting the mail. She was 53 years old at the time of her assassination. Dulcie September's murder generated much speculation around whether she was the victim of hitmen hired by South Africa's apartheid regime, possibly with the complicity of the French Secret Service. September was the first woman ANC member and high-ranked diplomat to fall on foreign soil.
4 years ago, we took a decision to commemorate human rights by remembering a period in our calendar and a day in which Dulcie September was assassinated, which was the 29th of March 1988. I was just explaining to the podium group that you would have seen that the original date for this lecture was the 28th of March. However, per advice, looking at the Easter weekend, we had to change the date at very short notice. And I think we want to apologize for that, but also appreciate that you did come because you thought this day is very important. Dulcie September was a courageous figure in the anti-apartheid movement. And we remember her for her unwavering commitment to justice and equality. And we know that her life was tragically cut short. She was assassinated, but her legacy continues to inspire all of us. She dedicated herself to the fight against apartheid in South Africa, tirelessly advocating for the rights of the oppressed, especially women and children. If you follow her life, you will know that she addressed many conferences, both in Europe and also in Africa, in Angola, in Tanzania, in Kenya, and many other countries. Especially trying to tell the world what it was like to be a child under apartheid, or to be a woman under apartheid, but also generally the plight of the oppressed. For us as Freedom Park, Dulcie September's legacy serves as a reminder of the sacrifices made in the struggle for liberation and her enduring strength of the human spirit in the face of adversity. This annual lecture is also in line with our mandate to honor the heroes and the heroines who sacrificed their lives for the quest for liberation in our country.
It's always a privilege to speak about what your family did, because with being the niece of someone like Dulcie September, it's about sharing somebody what she did that I can be proud of and not ashamed of. That I can talk and share as a family member and not have to run away afterwards. So I think it is an honor and it's a privilege to share. So just about who am I? I'm the youngest niece. Dulcie had 2 sisters, and the eldest sister died at the age of 9 years due to illness. And then it was Dulcie only, and then my mother, Stephanie. And Stephanie had 5 children, of which I am the 4th one. And we were the close family that Dulcie had. There was no other family. But she realized if she wanted to make life better for us as a family, she had to leave Rome. She couldn't stop because the work was too important, and not just for us as her nieces and nephews, but for all children, all young people, all men and women, if we wanted to have a future, a better future, because she didn't want us to live in the country that she lived in and grew up in. She wanted something better.
But her education became about educating in the political space. And again, there's a selflessness that comes with it, being an educator. Because educators know that they cannot just hoard or monetize what they know. They have to share what they know as freely as possible. We all know educators in our own lives who went far beyond the classroom for us. It made complete sense to me that somebody who was this sacrificial with their life was committed to education and being an educator. Because that's usually what educators do. They give up themselves freely and openly and with a sense of sacrifice. I'm on different political divides often with many ANC veterans when we have debates and discussions. But the sacrifice made of incarceration during that time is a big sacrifice. Even without death, there is a sacrifice there of the death of your social life, the death of your identity, the death of your family. I remember listening to somebody describe Nelson Mandela, particularly his, and other Robben Islanders, I would assume, fall under this as well, that the thing that was most lost in that was not his freedom alone, but the freedom of his family, who could never be a real family as long as he was not free. And I can imagine that for the September family it would be the same. That there's so much lost for the families of freedom fighters. There's so much lost for the families of freedom fighters. Those times that mothers were sitting in prisons with their children, somewhere they don't know, where fathers are estranged from their families, where daughters and sons, let's forget husbands and wives, just daughters and sons are missing their funerals of their parents. Those sacrifices are great, they're brave, they're big, they're important. And their crime was our freedom, was fighting for our freedom.